The world's truly terrifying eras do not rely on political treaties. They build regimes of absolute terror fueled by divine decrees. Today we glimpse into the minds behind history's most brutal religious wars. We will explore the First Sacred War, the Maccabean Revolt, and the Albigensian Crusade. We will witness the Hussite Wars, the Chamabra Rebellion, and the French Wars of Religion. We will witness the centuries-long Reconquista, the Taiping Rebellion, and the 30 Years' War. Finally, we will reveal the unmatched bloodshed of the global Crusades. Before we dive in, please like and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles right now. Hitting that big subscribe button helps us bring you more high-quality history videos. Do not forget to turn on the notification bell for your daily history fix. Let us start our global journey in ancient Greece with the completely ruthless First Sacred War. The terrifying situation unfolded when the wealthy city of Kira began heavily taxing and robbing pilgrims traveling to the Oracle of Delphi. An alliance of Greek city-states believed this extortion was a direct insult to the sun god Apollo. They declared a massive holy war and besieged the heavily fortified coastal city for 10 grueling years. The attackers completely ignored traditional rules of engagement by using biological warfare against the defenders. They secretly gathered highly toxic hellebore roots and dumped them directly into the city's main water supply. The defending soldiers and civilians suffered severe sickness, rendering them entirely unable to hold their defensive lines. The Allied forces easily stormed the open gates and slaughtered every single living citizen inside the walls. They permanently cursed the conquered land, declaring that it must never be farmed or settled by humans again. Our next glimpse into holy warfare erupts in ancient Judea during the Maccabean Revolt. The Hellenistic Seleucid Empire attempted to completely eradicate the Jewish faith by outlawing ancient religious practices. They placed a massive pagan statue of Zeus directly inside the holiest temple of Jerusalem and demanded absolute submission. A fierce local priest named Mattathias and his sons launched a desperate and bloody guerrilla rebellion. They utilized their deep knowledge of the rugged mountain terrain to ambush massive, heavily armored imperial patrols. The rebels fought with absolute religious fury, knowing that surrender meant the complete extinction of their culture. They ruthlessly executed fellow citizens who had converted to the foreign pagan religion to maintain absolute ideological purity. Against impossible numerical odds, they successfully recaptured the holy city and cleansed their sacred temple completely. Their unmatched devotion to their ancient laws secured independent survival in a completely hostile ancient world. Moving to medieval France, we find the terrifying and deeply destructive Albigensian Crusade. The absolute power of the Catholic Church was suddenly challenged by a rapidly growing sect known as the Cathars. The Pope declared a massive holy crusade right in the heart of Christian Europe to completely exterminate the new movement. Thousands of heavily armored knights marched south, burning entire wealthy cities to the ground in the name of God. During the brutal massacre at Béziers, the Crusader commander famously ordered his men to kill everyone and let God sort them out. The Crusaders completely slaughtered over 20,000 men, women, and children seeking refuge inside the local churches. They utilized terrifying siege engines to smash ancient castle walls and drag suspected heretics into the open squares. Hundreds of captured Cathars were chained together and burned alive on massive roaring wooden pyres without a trial. This internal religious genocide completely reshaped the cultural and political landscape of southern France forever. The absolute destruction of religious dissent continued under the highly destructive Hussite Wars in Bohemia. After the famous religious reformer Jan Hus was burned at the stake, his enraged followers completely revolted against the church. They formed a massive peasant army and invented brilliant new military tactics using heavily armored farm wagons. These rolling wooden fortresses were packed with early gunpowder weapons and crossbows to completely shatter elite cavalry charges. The Pope launched 5 separate massive international crusades, to crush the Bohemian rebels completely. Every single imperial army was absolutely massacred by the singing religious zealots on the open battlefield. The Hussites fought with such terrifying fanaticism that enemy soldiers frequently dropped their weapons and fled before the battle even started. They completely humiliated the most powerful royal families of Europe through pure, unyielding religious conviction. Their innovative tactical warfare proved that inspired commoners could successfully defeat the most elite professional armies on Earth. Traveling to feudal Japan, we witnessed the brutal holy conflict known as the Shimabara Rebellion. The ambitious Tokugawa shogunate successfully united the fractured country, but ruled with an absolute intolerance for foreign religions. They heavily persecuted local Japanese Christians, forcing them to trample on sacred holy images to prove their loyalty to the state. Driven to absolute desperation, tens of thousands of starving Christian peasants and masterless samurai launched a massive armed revolt. They captured the abandoned Hara castle and completely fortified the stone walls against the massive imperial army. The shogun deployed over 120,000 elite samurai warriors to completely crush the tiny rebel garrison. The desperate Christians held out for months, eating seaweed and boiling their own leather armor to survive the starvation. When the castle finally fell, the shogun ordered the absolute decapitation of all 37,000 men, women, and children inside. This incredible religious stand resulted in the complete isolation of Japan from the outside world for over 2 centuries. Before we reveal the final 5 masterminds of terror, please like this video and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles. Your daily support helps us spend more time researching these incredible historical survival stories. Leave a comment right below about which religious war has shocked you the most so far. Deep in the heart of Renaissance Europe, a nightmare emerges known to history as the French Wars of Religion. The entire nation completely fractured as powerful noble families weaponized the split between Catholics and Protestant Huguenots. The decades of bitter fighting were marked by sudden assassinations and absolute localized mob violence in the city streets. The sheer horror escalated during the infamous St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in the capital city of Paris. Catholic mobs marked the doors of their Protestant neighbors and systematically slaughtered them in their sleep. The absolute sheer horror of the bloody display caused the city rivers to run completely red with the blood of thousands. Even the royal family participated in the dark conspiracy to completely wipe out the rival religious leadership in a single night. The relentless civil war destroyed massive economic infrastructure and left the French countryside completely barren and starving. It proved that internal religious division can turn a wealthy superpower into an absolute slaughterhouse overnight. Across the vast landscape of the Iberian Peninsula, the absolute brutal holy war, known as the Reconquista, spanned centuries. The relentless conflict pitted the advancing Christian kingdoms of the north against the established Islamic Moorish states of the south. Unlike a single rapid campaign, this was a massive generational grinding war of absolute cultural attrition. Whenever a major city fell to either side, the victorious army immediately converted the local grand places of worship to assert total dominance. Elite orders of warrior monks dedicated their entire lives to fighting on the rugged frontier borders without mercy. The conflict bred a unique military culture where absolute religious devotion was permanently tied to martial success and royal expansion. The long holy war finally concluded when the massive combined armies of Ferdinand and Isabella captured the beautiful fortress of Granada. They immediately issued absolute royal decrees, forcing the mass conversion or immediate expulsion of all remaining Muslims and Jews. This centuries-long religious crusade completely forged the modern Spanish identity through pure, unadulterated bloodshed and conquest. The blueprint of mass destruction was pushed to absolute limits during the Taiping Rebellion in China. A failed civil service scholar named Hong Xiuquan suffered a severe fever dream and declared himself the literal younger brother of Jesus Christ. He organized a massive militant religious sect called the God-worshipping Society to completely overthrow the ancient Qing dynasty. He established a strict holy rule demanding absolute equality, but enforced his divine laws with terrifying public executions. His massive fanatical armies swept across the southern provinces, capturing major wealthy cities and slaughtering millions of traditional scholars. The imperial forces fought back with unmatched brutality, resulting in total war that completely devastated the agricultural heartland. Entire massive ancient cities were completely leveled to the ground, leaving absolutely nothing but ash and rotting corpses behind. Over 20 million people were systematically slaughtered, making it the deadliest civil religious war in human history. His absolute messianic delusions completely shattered the stability of the most populous empire on earth. The absolute pinnacle of European religious slaughter erupted during the catastrophic 30 Years' War. What began as a local rebellion in Bohemia quickly dragged every single major European power into a massive spiral of holy violence. Mercenary armies representing Catholic and Protestant alliances roamed the fractured German states like absolute starving wolves. They routinely utilized absolute terror as a calculated military weapon to extract gold and food from innocent, defenseless peasants. Entire rural populations were completely wiped out by starvation plague and the relentless swords of unpaid, angry soldiers. In the wealthy city of Magdeburg, imperial forces massacred over 20,000 civilians, burning the entire ancient capital to the ground in a single day. The conflict completely destroyed the economic and demographic foundations of Central Europe for multiple successive generations. The warring kings eventually exhausted their treasuries completely and were forced to sign the Peace of Westphalia. This unmatched continent-wide slaughter permanently ended the era of massive religious wars in modern Europe. Finally, we arrive at the ultimate era of absolute holy warfare with the massive global campaigns of the Crusades. Popes convinced hundreds of thousands of European knights to leave their homes and march thousands of miles to conquer the Holy Land. They convinced the global powers that absolute absolution of sins could be earned entirely by shedding the blood of non-believers. The Crusaders marched across deserts completely unchecked by any modern humanitarian laws of combat. When they finally breached the towering stone walls of Jerusalem, they unleashed a terrifying wave of absolute indiscriminate slaughter. The victorious holy warriors claimed they rode their war horses through streets where the blood literally reached their knees. Successive massive campaigns dragged legendary kings and empires into a 2-century cycle of continuous bloody retaliation. The conflict permanently shattered relations between East and West, creating absolute cultural divides that echo into the modern era. This unmatched fusion of divine promise and extreme human violence makes the Crusades the most iconic religious war in human history. These gripping narratives prove that human resourcefulness can shatter the strongest chains on Earth completely. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles right now. See you tomorrow as we upload high-quality history videos every single day without fail.